On the geopolitical stage, we are privy to a captivating narrative that is currently unfolding. In response to the escalating tensions in the Pacific region, the United States of America, Japan, and Australia have come together to display their strong resolve. In a daring step to confront the increasing tensions in the Philippine Sea, Australia has joined forces with the United States and Japan. In an effort to send a clear message of solidarity and deterrence, the three nations that are concerned about the expanding influence of a Chinese military island have gathered together. The Philippine Sea, which is a critical waterway, has become a focal point of tension as a result of the establishment of a Chinese military presence, which has concerned the nations that are located in close proximity to the Philippines. In a move that will go down in history, the United States of America, Japan, and Australia have established a unified front against any hostile moves that may be taken in the Philippine Sea. A turning point in international relations has been reached with the formation of this alliance, which has the objective of preserving peace and stability in the region. Over the course of the past few months, China has been progressively increasing the amount of pressure that it exerts on the Philippines and the seas of the South China Sea that are the subject of dispute. Of particular concern is the fact that China has actively intervened with a small Philippine garrison that was hosting the Second Thomas Show. A robust response from the United States is necessary in order to prevent further escalation by China. The Philippine Marines, who are stationed on a rusty landing ship from World War II, are dependent on receiving regular replenishment of food and water from the main Philippine islands. It has been regularly attempted by Chinese Coast Guard vessels and fishing boats to prevent Philippine ships from sending supplies to the outpost, which is essentially an attempt to lay siege to the little outpost. During the most recent events, the Chinese have participated in unsafe maneuvers that resulted in a collision between a Chinese vessel and a Philippine vessel. Additionally, they have used water cannons to destroy one of the Philippine resupply vessels. Through the utilization of CCG and allegedly civilian ships, these Chinese initiatives demonstrate a sophisticated utilization of hybrid warfare techniques and gray zone warfare. Beijing is making an effort to obscure the nature of its action and prevent the appearance of employing an armed force, despite the fact that fishing boats are almost certainly a component of China's considerable marine militia force. In the midst of escalating regional security tensions with China, 5 Australian warships are now participating in military drills in the Philippine Sea, alongside the Navy of the United States and Japan. The United States Ronald Reagan Carrier Strike Group, a Japanese destroyer, and an Australian Joint Task Group, led by the House of Representatives in Canberra, have all participated in a trilateral exercise in preparation for larger-scale war exercises that will take place in Hawaii. The opportunity to collaborate with the United States of America and Japan, according to Major General Susan Coyle, who is the commander of the Australian Joint Task Group, was extremely valuable. The ability of navies to work together in a seamless manner is necessary for the maintenance of security and safety at sea. This was stated by Susan Coyle in a statement that was issued by the Department of Defense. The combined efforts of our respective fleets show that the United States of America, Japan, and Australia have an extremely high level of interoperability and capability. As part of their efforts to maintain the openness and freedom of the Indo-Pacific area, the 3 warships will, over the course of the next 2 days, participate in a variety of training exercises designed to enhance their capacity to work together. When it comes to the United States of America, this Chinese concern ought to be at the center of our responses, which ought to be forceful and unequivocal. The statement made by the State Department on December 10 expressing support for the Philippines and highlighting the fact that an armed attack against Philippine forces anywhere would trigger the United States Department of State's Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty is a good beginning. In spite of this, Washington must proceed forward, owing to the fact that the messages have not resulted in a de-escalation of the situation in China. In the first place, there is the possibility of implementing more aggressive measures in the Red Sea to counter Houthi attacks on shipping. The purpose of this is not to imply that China is in any way responsible for those attacks, but Beijing is obviously keeping an eye on our movements around the world. The failure of the United States to respond to attacks on ships belonging to the United States is likely to mislead Beijing into perceiving us as weak and ambivalent rather than as committed. At the end of the day, if the United States is willing to satisfy a weak country like Yemen or a non-national organization like the Harvest, then Yemen is a weak power. The head of the Pentagon, who is speaking from Washington, also gave the impression that the United States military would increase the number of freedom of navigation operations, also known as FO and OPS, in order to dispute Beijing's territorial claims in the South China Sea. The number of freedom of navigation operations that we carried out in the South China Sea in 2019 was the highest in the 40 years that the FO and OVS programs have been in existence, and he stated that we will continue to maintain the same level of activity this year. He expressed hope that he would be able to visit China before the end of the year in order to address areas of mutual interest, despite the fact that he condemned the maritime activity of the Chinese government. In order to strengthen our plans to openly compete in the international system, he stated that I hope to visit the People's Republic of China, PRC, for the first time before the year is up. This will allow us to strengthen our cooperation in areas of shared interest, develop the systems that are necessary for crisis communications, and establish the necessary crisis communication systems. It is important to note that China has abstained from using either vessels belonging to the People's Liberation Army Navy or force that is lethal. Concerns over the possibility of the joint military exercises and naval deployments that Japan, the United States of America, and Australia are conducting serve as a dramatic demonstration of unity. Escalation, and in particular, the possibility of involvement by the United States, are probably the cause of this. The United States of America reaffirms that Article IV of the U.S.-Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty from 1951 applies to armed attacks on Philippine armed forces, public vessels, or aircraft, including those of the Philippine Coast Guard, anywhere in the South China Sea. The State Department recently released a statement that specifically mentioned this. The joint military exercises and naval deployments that Japan, the United States of America, and Australia are conducting serve as a dramatic demonstration of unity. A demonstration of the nation's commitment to safeguarding maritime security and freedom of navigation in the Philippine Sea is now taking place. The news of this partnership is reverberating across the world, and it has provoked a variety of reactions. Diplomatic circles, military specialists, and the general public are all closely studying the consequences of this geopolitical maneuver. In what manner will China react? What does this imply for the years to come in the Pacific region? Our comprehensive coverage of the alliance between Australia, the United States of America, and Japan in the face of difficulties in the Philippine Sea comes to an end now. We would appreciate it if you would like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you found this video to be informative, be sure to check back for further updates on global affairs.